Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, we are ready.
Okay, great. So yes, it's 5:17 and let's begin the meeting.
Let the record reflect that Mayor Estrada is running late. Mayor Pro Tem Garcia,
Here?
Councilmember Avila,
Here.
Councilmember Ayala,
Here.
Councilmember Damian.
Here.
Okay, and so since this is our study session, see where the agenda is. We have an update on the roundabout demonstration project at the intersection of Olive Avenue and Main Avenue by Sam Gutierrez, Director of Public Works, and Romani.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, before we get to it, are there any communications? Anybody looking to speak? Okay, seeing that there's no interest, we close that and move along to the open session and the study session.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So yeah, we have prepared a slide presentation to give you an update on the roundabout. At the last council meeting, the council approved the setup of the roundabout for only a 1-week period. That is already come to pass. So here we are 1 week later, and we want to provide an update. I'm going to invite Romani Basilius to come and give you some information regarding the roundabout to date.
Good evening, council members, city staff, and members of the audience. So today I'm here to update you about the roundabout demonstration at Main Avenue and Olive Street. And in this presentation, we're gonna talk about 9 points. We're gonna start with traffic data overview, background, why a roundabout, temporary installation updates, use cases, demonstration event, general observations, why are we here, and finally questions. All right, let's start first by understanding some traffic data about our city. So based on data from the Office of Traffic Safety 2017, Baldwin Park ranked 56 out of 108 cities in total fatal and injury collisions. So as we can see here, 1 is the worst. 108 is the safest city. We are number 56, which means like not bad, not good, we are in the middle. However, if we break down the 56 ranking and took a look only at pedestrian and bicyclist data, in this scenario, the city ranked 20 for bicyclist collisions and 17 for pedestrians collisions. This is bad. So we were at 56 when it comes to total collisions, but when it comes to pedestrians and bicyclists, we're number 20 and 17. But bad news don't stop here. The city ranked 7 out of 108 cities in collisions involving bicyclists less than 15 years old. Again, the city ranked 7 out of 108 cities in collisions involving bicyclists less than 15 years old. So as we can see, we have a problem when it comes to collisions about bicyclists and pedestrians. But this is not only our source of data. Another resource that we use to track collision and data is the Safe Track Transportation Injury Mapping System, or TIMS database. According to them, the city of Baldwin Park, between January of 2015 and to the end of 2019, had over than 1,500 collisions occurred in the city. Out of that, 102 collisions involved pedestrians, and 98 involved bicyclists. But let's take a closer look about fatal accidents. We had, in that time, we had 12. 6 of them for pedestrians. That's 50% of the fatal accidents we have are for pedestrians. And 2 involve bicyclists. And finally, the rest 4 in vehicle. That means that 67% of the fatal accidents in our city are for pedestrians and bicyclists. 67%. After we got the bigger picture, let's focus more on this intersection for Olive and Main. In 2013, we did a complete street design for Main Avenue, where Stantec Consulting Services gave us an option for a roundabout at this intersection to solve the problem of accidents. In December of 2017, we took this recommendation and we did a complete design of that street for a prominent roundabout. And in 2018, Systematic Safety Analysis Report Program, funded by Caltrans, prepared by infrastructure engineers, identified this intersection to be the fourth worst intersection in the whole city. So we understood the issue and we have a solution. So why a roundabout? Roundabouts are proven safety countermeasure by the US Federal Highway Administration. 78% reduction in severe crashes compared to signalized intersection. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. Time saving. Less waiting than a traditional traffic signal or stop signs. Financial savings. Operate in power outage. No need for PD to direct traffic. Traffic signals require yearly maintenance and 24/7 electrical power, but roundabout no. Less fuel used by drivers. So again, safety, it's better. Time saving, it's better. And financial savings. So that's why we ended up to do a temporary installation. And here's the updates for that. So we started on July 5th and the temporary construction was completed by July 11. We put 4 CMS boards ahead of the roundabout, so to warn residents before they get to the roundabout. We had 4 warning signs and 8 pedestrians warning signs at the roundabout itself. We did day and night inspections, and as we can see, we have the picture at the bottom. This was taken at 9 p.m. where we were like day and night. We went to inspect the location to make sure it's safe for our pedestrians and vehicles. Also, businesses notices. We went to each business around the roundabout and notified them ahead of every step we took. All right, I'm gonna right now show you an actual footage of the roundabout. And before we play the video, I wanna tell you that this roundabout did exactly what it meant to do. As we can see here, vehicles yield, slow down, yield, and go inside the roundabout and out in less than 15 seconds. And we can see how many cars going around. Another example, bicyclist goes in and out safely in less than 10 seconds. Third example, city transit bus. We didn't time this one because we just told the driver to go around, keep going around, just to see how he can maneuver around the roundabout. Safely, he can go in and out. And finally, fire truck. LA County Station 29 sent us the biggest trucks they have to make a full U-turn. And if we look at the right-hand corner on the top, we put a timer to see how long it's gonna take. This truck was able to make a full U-turn, something that he couldn't do in a regular traffic signal. And as we can see, he completed the full turn in about 25 seconds. On the demonstration event, it started on July 15 at 9:30 a.m. ABC News and San Gabriel Examiner covers the event. San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments and Active San Gabriel Valley attended the event. During the demonstration, city vehicles, city transit bus, and LA County Station 29 of the fire department traveled through the roundabout. And finally, residents were able to engage with city officials, learn, and provide feedback. General observations. All right, so we only have this roundabout for 1 week, which is not enough time, but this is what we observed. In the first few days, residents and commuters who are not familiar with the roundabout didn't know how to go through it. People were mad. Many residents complained in the first few days. However, residents and commuters did better after understanding how the concept of the roundabout and how to use it. Also, many of the residents and commuters who came to the demonstration event with negative perspective about a roundabout changed their views after understanding the data and the safety benefits. And knowledge is a key factor. Many residents who came to the event didn't like roundabout, didn't want it, but after attending the event and found out how this roundabout can improve the location and how it's more safer, a lot of people got to the point that they liked it more. However, fire trucks took longer time to go through. So as we know, this roundabout meant to slow all vehicles for safety reasons, and including fire trucks. So yes, the fire truck was able to go around and make a full U-turn, but the driver told us it's slower for him to go inside the roundabout than a regular traffic signal. We performed traffic counts at the peak hours in the morning and in the afternoon, and we observed an average of about 2,200 vehicles, 45 pedestrians, and 5 bicyclists in AM, and about 2,700 vehicles, 32 pedestrians, and 17 bicyclists in the PM. Again, this is in about 3 hours, we had 45 pedestrians crossing in the roundabout safely. Why we are here. So council directed us at the council meeting to bring back to the council an update on the roundabout in 1 week. That's where we're standing now. Staff is recommending to keep the roundabout just for 2 more weeks until August 7, until after the 5K event take place. Additionally, this will give residents more time to get used to the roundabout and will give us in the city more time to collect more data and information. However, if the city council wish to remove the roundabout after today right away, we're gonna need about 5 days to able to complete the demolition starting from July 24th. And finally, to the questions part.
I have questions. So the numbers that you provided where we rank at the top of your presentation with 56, 20, and 17 respectively, what were the dates of those numbers? When was that data captured? Is it current?
I can speak to that. So that data comes from a report that the city worked with the Berkeley SafeTrack for a complete streets study assessment for the entire citywide. So at the time, this study was commissioned in 2020. So at the time, there wasn't any current data. The data that was used for those reports that we're quoting today is the data from the report, which is from 2017. And I think, in his presentation, Romani addressed that as 2017 statistics. However, just want to add that now there is more recent data, and I think we can bring back to the council data up to 2022.
I think that would be really great if we could get more current information, because that, those concerns they have existed for a long time. And that's what was the impetus for doing the Complete Street project along Main Avenue. to slow. So I'd be curious to know how the numbers have changed, if at all.
So I can tell you that in terms of collisions citywide, all collisions, including pedestrians, and we have gone down. I can look up that number real quickly, and then we can provide you in terms of pedestrians and bicyclists at a later time.
Yeah, and I think, I think the current state of affairs is important to reflect, because 6 years ago, again, I think we had completed a lot of work regarding the Complete Streets proposal, but I think it was implemented in 2020. Yeah, that's when construction actually began.
Correct.
So yeah, I'd like to, understand where we currently are. And just for us to be aware and see what has been most effective, if possible, where we've seen the greatest decline, the greatest drops in terms of collisions.
Absolutely. I do know that within the last year and a half, there have been 2 additional bike fatalities, one on Puente and another at this intersection. Olive
At
and
Main
Main.
and Olive.
Yeah. Next month would be the 1-year anniversary of that fatality.
Yeah. Okay, so that's good to know. And yeah, thank you for bringing that information to us. One thing I didn't see in the aerial was pedestrians. And I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. I grew up in this neighborhood, and just, very close to that intersection, very familiar. And as I was sharing with Sam, we have worked really hard to bring complete streets to our city, not only along Main Avenue, but even having traffic calming measures around the schools. So it's been years in the making, and I have had no problem taking the hits for these traffic calming approaches and policies. But one thing I have seen in that neighborhood specifically is an increase of pedestrian activity. And it really has been wonderful to see, because we didn't see that before. And I can tell you, because I grew up in that community, I grew up in that neighborhood. And so now we see people, well, we've always had pedestrians walking to the store. And there were 2 stores before and a liquor store. So you've always seen that activity. But more recently, you've seen a lot of recreational activity along Olive, even to BP STEM, where you now often see people walking their dogs. It really has been nice to see this change in this neighborhood. And so with the roundabout, one thing that I did notice is I saw a significant decline in pedestrian activity. And so that would be my concern. I have, and then of course, the emergency vehicles. I have seen a greater flow of traffic, where I've also seen people not yielding and, just kind of being confused or just, we have some interesting drivers in our community. Even if they know the law, maybe they don't always follow it, right? So I've seen a little bit of everything, but the main thing that I have seen is that decline in pedestrian activity. And, you could look at, maybe it was the heat, but even in the evening, I'm not seeing it like at the levels that I've recently enjoyed very much.
So in our counts, in a span of 3 hours, the average at night was 45 pedestrians. Well, total, right? So that number, while it might not, be high, or we can take a look at where that lands, but that is quite a bit of people for us traversing that intersection. And so in the beginning, we saw folks not using the crosswalks like they were supposed to. And so we were out there educating them. Once we, provided some feedback and they understood why they need to cross, they started, a lot of the pedestrians starting to understand where to cross. And so we started seeing that activity more and more. What we're asking is just 2 more weeks of having it up so that the community can continue to experience and learn how to navigate through it. As you know, we have a traditional intersection coming with complete streets improvements included in there, but it will be a signalized intersection. And so this just gives us an opportunity to study it further.
For me, I've received, complaints from constituents, and I do know that there were several, maybe about a dozen, 15 people that attended the demonstration or on Saturday, July 15th. And I think what put them at ease was that it's temporary.
Yes.
That's probably the greatest contributor to them being put at ease.
That is
And
correct.
so, for the reasons that I've stated, I won't support. That's just my position, though. I won't support the extension of it.
I've got a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
How did you guys communicate with the community? How did you communicate with the
So-
community that this was gonna go up?
For the businesses around, we went ahead before we started construction, and I went to every business and we talked to them. We explained to them what we're gonna do, and that this is gonna be a temporary, only for a few weeks. And also, again, before we did the event, I went again to every business and we told them, hey, we're gonna close it on Saturday from what time to what time. So also we sent flyers to some of the neighborhood, but yeah.
And we also
When did you send those flyers out to the neighborhood?
we also had a booth at the concerts in the park handing out flyers.
But when you guys send out, I mean, my biggest concern is the people that live in that area. So when you guys send out these mailers or these flyers, you started construction on July 5th and completed July 11th. When did these residents actually physically receive these flyers to get informed that there was going to be a roundabout built?
I think it was a week before, if I'm not mistaken, but I can check exactly what was the date. We sent it, I can check with Maria and get back
Maria
from, was Manny from
from Parks and Recreation.
We provided a list of addresses for the flyer to be sent out.
Manny, do
in
you know when
English
that flyer
and
was
Spanish.
sent out, Manny? When they sent you that flyer?
I can check.
Very good question. I believe construction started on the 5th, so it was approximately about that time period, maybe a day after or the day before, but it's doubtful it was the day before because it was 4th of July on the 4th and the federal office was closed. So hypothetically speaking, or approximately probably on the 5th, the residents probably received it in that area.
So, and that's the reason why the community was upset, because
Well-
there wasn't enough time for you guys. There should have been more community outreach. And you guys should have done it with at least a month so that they know, or they knew that they were gonna drive to the intersection of Main and Olive and there was gonna be a roundabout built there, even if it was temporary. But that's, the reason why I'm asking these questions is because these are the complaints that I received from these residents that live there.
So
Now, go ahead.
sorry, yeah, just want to touch on that. You're absolutely right. There was not enough time. So what happened at the previous meeting is that our timeline was accelerated because we wanted to set this up in August, but there was concern that school will let out at that time. And so we moved it up. And so we added a little pressure to Manny's team, who gracefully came through for us, to try to get out all this information in time so that we can make it to this meeting and provide you that update within 1 week's time. We wish we had a little bit longer to notify the community, let them know that this is coming, and do it at a little bit later time.
And how did the businesses take it? Because I know that Los Compadres Meat Market right on the corner, you guys literally blocked off their entrance on Olive.
Yeah,
So how did they take that? Because from when I've been there observing, parking there and see that, it's crazy because now they're just using the driveway on Main. And so you've got them going in and coming out, and I can see people flipping people off, so how did this business take it? Because I don't think that this is, I don't think we should have blocked off their driveway.
I've spoken to the business owner on 3 occasions. I can tell you that he did not take it well.
Okay.
He was a little bit upset about both driveways being closed. However, after quite a bit of conversation and explaining why we're doing what we're doing, he wasn't happy with it, but he understood.
Now, when you guys say you guys are collecting data, how exactly are we collecting the data? Is someone there sitting there 24/7 monitoring the intersection, or is there a camera there? How are we collecting data?
So yeah, so we have a person counting data only during the peak morning hours and the afternoon peak hours.
What are your peaks?
So we are there from 8 to 11 in the morning, and we are there from, I believe, is 3 to 5 in the evening.
Beside, we have a survey. We have an online survey, and there's some signs at the roundabout where we have the code for people to scan and fill out the survey.
Okay. And one of my last questions for you is, let's just say everything was fine and dandy. The city council said, we love this roundabout. We want to go ahead and build it there. What's going to be the cost, and where are we getting funding from to build this?
That's a very good question. Thank you. So we have a complete set of plans for a roundabout. This was completed as part of the Main Avenue Complete Streets project. However, at the time, the proposal was taken out or eliminated from the project in favor of a traditional complete streets intersection. So we do have plans. And so the estimate that we got at that time when we opened bids was around, I can get you the exact number, I can send it to the council, but I believe it's around 580,000.
And this was in what year?
2020.
So we're talking about maybe over $1 million now?
That's a good question. I'm thinking more like 750, which is our budget for the traditional intersection.
So and was there a particular reason why you guys chose this particular intersection and not one example, Ramona and Merced, that's a bigger intersection? Because my concerns are that this intersection is just not big enough for a roundabout. I understand the concept of it, but when you start to weigh in the pros and the cons, it seems like there's more cons than pros for this particular intersection. I just think that this intersection is too small for a roundabout. Maybe something like Ramona or Merced or something of that, that size would probably go there. I don't think that, once school starts and we have more pedestrians, a lot of the pedestrians are confused. Obviously, it's new, so a lot of people are going to be confused, right? A lot of people are not yielding. You just have those crazy drivers that just don't care. But when you start to see these pedestrians using the actual roundabout to cross the street because they don't really know that their crosswalk is not towards the back part, that's concerning. And this is just now without the schools being, back in session. So, after much consideration for me and, just talking to various business residents and business owners from the area, I just don't think that this intersection is fit for a roundabout. I think it's too small. I think that the planning was not adequately done. Even if we were going to push this to August, I think that this is something that we should have brought out to the community very early on so that they were aware of what they were going to start facing, and maybe embrace it, but at this point in time, we're here for our constituents, we're here for our communities. So if the majority of our community really don't want it, then we can't force it down their throats. So for me, I can't grant the extension either. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, so did you want me to answer the question on why that intersection? Because I think we touched on it. That intersection was identified in a 2013 master plan for complete streets. And it was studied for a roundabout, and it was provided as an option on that master plan study.
I mean, I still think that the intersection is too small.
Right. No, I
just
understand.
think that it's too small of an intersection, and I mean, I see the data, and I agree with it, and I see the concept, and I understand the concept of why we want to do this. I get it. Trust me, we want everyone to be safe, whether they're pedestrians walking, bicyclists, whether they're drivers, whatever it is. We want everybody to be safe, and I know that this is a very crazy intersection, right? I've seen how cars speed out of, Olive turning onto Main from the Linda Burger side. So I know how bad this intersection is, but still, this intersection, I think is just still too small for this roundabout. When I was there was a big rig that just ran over all those little center cones that just went blah, 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 blah. So for me, I just still think that this intersection is too small for a roundabout. I think that we're gonna end up kicking ourselves in the butt later on if we actually leave it or decide to build it. And once it's done, it's done. And right now we have the opportunity to say, you know what, this is not gonna work. I don't know how the rest of my council colleagues feel, but as far as I'm concerned, I can't support this project either.
Mayor, I'd like to comment. Although I understand the reasoning and we've had discussions about it, Sam, and I appreciate the idea of the roundabout and what its reason for and all of that. I personally went out myself and I took a look, and it was a little scary to me being a walker, because I think, first of all, and I know it's temporary and all the like yellow things like sticking up. I mean, it was a little overwhelming because I saw people like, where do I go and what do I do? So that was a little overwhelming. And then I saw, people not yielding and things of that sort. I mean, I didn't want to go to that area because it was a little scary to me. But like I said, I understand the reasoning for it. And I recall back in 2013 sitting out there and hearing, and knowing about that location being selected, and a little concerned. And I think that's what Mayor Pro Tem and I were so concerned about, the limited time, because, we're very familiar with that area over there on the north side and just the oncoming traffic and all of that. So although I understand the reasoning for it and I appreciate the work that went into it, I feel that, being the educator, I think educating the community, and I know we gave you a limited time, but educating them on the knowledge of it. I mean, we're so like here trying to be so tech savvy about, oh, let's do a survey. Well, why don't we survey them? I know it was in the plan, but why don't we survey them about what area they thought would benefit, more from a roundabout? Like, because I agree with Councilman Damian that maybe there are other areas that might have benefited more. But like I said, I appreciate the work that went into it. I understand its purpose and I understand why we did it. But I too, I don't think that the community over there is ready for it. I don't think that it's supportive of that location. And so I too kind of am with my colleagues that I don't think I'm going to go with the extension at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for all the work you put into that roundabout. I know it was a short timeline that you guys were given and you had very little time to work with. And so I know all the work you put into, so thank you for that. I drove through the roundabout. I know how to drive through them because I've had a lot of experience driving through it. That one is not realistic because of the cones sticking up. When you do a roundabout, it doesn't look as confusing because it's set. It's a design and it's set. However, I do agree that that's a high area of walkers and cyclists, and I think it's dangerous to do a roundabout in that area. I saw the fire truck going through there, and it concerns me that they feel it's too slow for them to get through it, to get to an emergency. That was my first thought when we talked about the roundabouts. Well, I always think, what does the fire department think about these changes that we're doing to the road? Is it feasible for them? Is it safe? And to me, that's concerning. The fire department getting through our emergency, any type of emergency vehicle, even our police department having to go to an emergency, and our pedestrians, is it safe? I personally would not walk through an area that there's a roundabout. I never have. I go to wherever there's a light because I don't feel safe. Because again, there's people that know how to drive. There's people that follow the law, but then there's those that don't follow the law. And when there is no stop sign or anything, people are not going to pay attention. They're just going to look for the vehicles and not look for the pedestrians. So I don't think it's a safe area for a roundabout. It is very small. And I don't think we need an extension because I think 1 week's worth of people calling me as well and just telling me how scary it was and what were we thinking and why are we spending city funds. I explained to them that we were not spending city funds. However, you know, we have to listen. I mean, I got calls, he got calls, everybody has gotten calls concerned. One person has said something positive about it, but that's because they've lived in areas that had roundabouts. I mean, they look beautiful. They do make the streets look really nice, but I don't think that's a good area for that particular roundabout. We do need it in a bigger area. You did say that was the fourth highest in traffic accidents,
In the
correct?
city, yes.
What is number one in our city?
So the number one is Merced and Vineland,
Yeah,
worst intersection.
right.
And so that intersection is currently under construction. So we're going to be installing left turn phasing, new signals. So that's already, this study helped us get a grant for that intersection.
And there's a lot of pedestrians there, so that would not be a good area for a roundabout either. So
Right.
again, I appreciate all the work you did. Your presentation was great. Your data was great. But I do feel that at this time, it's not a good place for the roundabout. I don't feel it's safe. I think just keeping our traffic lights and the signal lights where you can see the flashing maybe for the pedestrians, we have to think of them and just have to go forward the next 2 weeks. But thank you.
Great, thank you. So, and then Sam, I do think, I just want to point out that some people in the area did feel that it was a benefit. I know the person that lives next door to Linda's, and I think I sent you that video of they capture that intersection crash where somebody skips the red light.
Yeah.
I think I pointed it out that the first week we were going to get a ton of, people don't like it when you mess with the streets. I think I pointed that out and we were going to get a lot of backlash. I think as people got used to it, I think a lot of people did change their mind, at least from what I saw on people reaching out. But it does bring the roundabout does have important aspects to it, and it does bring a lot of to learn about. And one of that is that we need to do more to educate the community on traffic measures and calming measures and how things work, right? And I think during this 1 or 2 week span, we saw a lot of misinformation where people think that you can place speed humps everywhere, or you can put stop signs everywhere, or you can just put a traffic signal everywhere. And they don't understand not only the cost, but the data portion to it and the study portions to it and the requirements for certain streets, right? And, they'd compare Maine to little streets, neighborhood streets where, yeah, you could put a speed hump there, but you can't put it on a street that's 35 to 40 miles an hour because that's not how they work. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities here to expand on that conversation and help residents understand what works and what doesn't and why we do what we do. So I think that was a really good benefit. I do think that, I think last time I mentioned on Vineland and Central, where we have the little cement divider in the center, I think that there's something that we could do on smaller streets where we know that people are street racing or doing donuts in the center of the center medians, like Palm. I know Palm is one of those streets that are people do ask for a lot of traffic calming measures. Something like that in the center there would be beneficial. Obviously not the size of a roundabout, but a lot smaller, just to make sure that people are not able to go directly straight and keep gassing on the pedal. So if that's something council is willing to, I think that would be something that we can try out on a smaller area where it's a single lane both ways. And I think that could be beneficial for everybody, especially because they're darker streets. People think they could get away with more in that area.
Mayor, can I add some comments, follow-up comments? Sam, for the traditional traffic light signal, have we looked at what other cities are doing? For example, I think in Pasadena, I've seen where pedestrians have a lead time, like when before the light changes for the cars, the actual crosswalk changes for the pedestrian to give them more lead time. And I don't know if that's been studied or if that will be incorporated at all as a possibility. The other thing I've seen, obviously, in Pasadena is, where pedestrians are given the full right-of-way before traffic can flow. And you're familiar with that one,
Right,
Fair
yes.
Oaks and...
Yeah, we have looked into
Colorado.
pedestrian lead times, and so that is a software change that is easily implementable. So we are looking at, for example, Vineland and Merced. We're going to be installing that there. We're looking at several intersections along Los Angeles where we're going to be doing that. And so this plan was designed the traditional signal before we started looking into the LEDs, but we will go back and incorporate this as well since it's a software change.
Okay, yeah, it'd be good to consider right now that we're making the more permanent changes. And I will also say that people in our community are driving kind of nuts. And right, it's like people don't have patience or courtesy for other drivers. And I'll give you an example. I was driving down Main, recently, like a week ago, and traveling northbound on Main, coming up to Los Angeles Avenue. And some guy behind me, there's like a line of cars. Nobody is going slow. Everybody's kind of going along with the flow of traffic. And, I came to a stop, and the car behind me decided to recklessly go around and run the red light and go into the gas station.
Yeah.
And, everybody, thankfully, on the opposing side of the traffic, they saw what was happening and they just kind of gave space for a reckless driver. But, kind of what we saw at Main and Olive, that guy was clearly taking a red light. And
Yes.
again, it goes back to reckless drivers. So I think we can design, but we also need to enforce. And I know that we've had to cut back on our patrols, like our traffic patrols, where they were in on the bikes and things like that. But it'd be something for us to look at since we're having this conversation and rethink, how we can design, but also enforce. Because like the mayor said, there are reckless drivers doing donuts. I mean, this is just reckless behavior. It doesn't matter if it's a roundabout, a traditional intersection, Main Avenue, complete streets, or not. It's just people are just being reckless. And so with that behavior, we do have to curtail it with enforcement and citations.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to thank the council for, letting us set it up for 1 week. I think we have learned a lot, in particular, how the community feels about it. I also got a lot of phone calls. We were expecting and bracing for negative, pushback, but we are ready to take it down. We are going to start that work on July 24th.
Yes, we're going to start on July 24th.
So we're
Coming
going to start
Monday.
on July 24th, and it'll take us about 4 to 5 days to restore it back to the way it was before the roundabout. So just wanted to let the council know to be mindful that it will take some time for the restoration.
And Mayor, if I can also add, one of the reasons why we did push it to July was because we wanted to have the demonstration before the school year began.
Right.
So just want to make sure that, this will be back to traditional form by the time that the school year begins. And also just want to show our community that we are responsive. We are willing to explore new ways, but at the end of the day, we have to be responsive to this community and its needs. So with that, I'm going to make the motion to not extend this, to leave it as a demonstration, and to bring it back to traditional as soon as possible.
So I don't think we need
Direction.
action. I think we have clear direction. And so we'll take that as,
I would like to take action because of the community response to this.
You can give us direction as a consensus, and that's all we would need, because it wasn't presented as an action.
An action item.
Well, I think it's important enough to do something at some point where it shows 5-0. No more roundabout at Main and Olive. I think.
Put it on another agenda. We can put it on the other agenda.
well, what we can do is we have to close out the grant and bring back a staff report. We can have some action there.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
But again, thank you for all the work you did. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, staff, for that presentation. So at this moment, we will recess to closed session, and then we will see everybody at 7 o'clock for the regular meeting.